Good late morning, British Covidians. Sorry I wasn't here yesterday. I was patio laying. As again, most of the hard labour and whatever and work on that has been done by my wonderful wife. But yesterday we were involved in laying sharp sand and did help out a bit with a few things. By the way, I've suddenly realised that if we wanted to buy another 20 bags of sharp sand and bring them back in the car, they would be so heavy they would probably collapse the car's suspension. So we're aiming to get them delivered curbside and wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow. I'm expecting some transporting down a long, narrow passageway. So, exercise, which, according to my son, whom I spoke to the day before Father's Day, the one, as I say, who is an ICU nurse who's now happy to get some annual leave, is good for my heart and will give me a better chance if, unfortunately, I get the COVID-19. Well, that much aside, here is the man who is now making it clear that, as part of Brexit negotiations, he wants our country to withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights. Here is a man who believes in privilege, a greatly privileged man, a man who supports people who, break the law, for example, But here's the guy I'm going to talk about mostly today. If you haven't seen enough pictures of him, where have you been? But here he is, in all his glory, talking there about Marcus Rashford, obviously, but there he is, because he's the one I want to start off with. The man who supported Dominic Cummings on his little jaunt. So let me go through some with, first of all, what he's planning to do. Well, as you know, 1 metre plus with mask will be coming in shortly. So, and you might, as you know, have to register at your local Spoons or wherever if you go for a drink. Now that is going to be immensely good fun, because can you imagine loads of drunken people registering their name, address and telephone number? We may get some socially distanced outbreaks of fighting, and unfortunately, when they happen, whoever this particular girl or whatever is wearing a mask, the violent disorder and conduct will have to be dealt with by them first. I do feel sorry for these people, but I'm sure that dear old Tim, nice but dim, isn't going to be too bothered about that. And I'm sure Tim, nice but dim, isn't going to pay them anymore. But that much aside, here he is again. I said there'll be a lot of photos of him today. He's here again. Like, he's got his hand up this time like he wants to answer a question. Can you imagine him going, "Oh, please, sir, please, please." Yes. There's Johnson again with some kids trying to look humane or human. Does he honestly care about your kids? Getting them back to school, reducing distances and all that lot? Do you think he actually cares? Well, no, he doesn't. But he does care, of course, on making the teaching unions look lefties, nasties, horrible, harming the kids' education. Absolutely awful. Right, so that much aside, okay? I'm going to talk about human rights in a second, But here we are now told that apparently sending people back to care homes, whether they knew they had COVID or not, was not illegal. Well, there you go. It was not illegal. I'm sure that's made the Tories very happy. Another important point. Ordinary people should not be made to bail out the country again. Thank you, for crying out loud, one of the true left-wingers left in the Labour Party, Diane Abbott. Thank you, Diane. unfortunately, we are going to be made to bail out the country again. I absolutely promise you. I'm sorry, Diane, but we are going to be made to do that. All those of you who have now lost jobs and whatever and are still waiting for 6 weeks for universal credit, please look forwards to the fact that to bail out the country from what's happened due to COVID, money will be taken from the benefit that you have paid in for universal credit. Please understand, those of you who are on pensions, state pensions that is, who are on disability allowances, who are on carers allowance, who are on any form of credit or whatever from the government to help you manage your life because you cannot work, I absolutely assure you, I promise you, that the billionaires and the tax-dodging bastards will not be paying for this. You will. The people whom, for example, this man, trip to Barnard Castle man, trip to check your eyesight man, he won't be paying. By the way, my son told me that Brewdog have produced a Barnard Castle special IPA ale, and it's got like the form of an eye chart on it. And as you go down the Brewdog can special IPA, so the writing gets smaller and smaller. There you go, Dom. We know you went to check your eyesight, didn't you? Yep, that's not a go. I guess every human being has a right to check their eyesight, but just not like that. Yeah. Alex Ferguson quotes, "The images of decay and neglect have remained with me, and I have never ceased to curse the Tory government for vandalising the National Health Service. Margaret Thatcher's aggressive efforts to privatise healthcare in this country were a betrayal of a service that has been one of the proudest achievements of our society. Post-war society, I might add as well. Generation of my deceased parents, as well as my generation as well." Alex, you are so right. You're such a good man. Read that, people. Read it and weep. Read it and think of all those lives we have lost that potentially could have been saved because of what has been done under the Tories to our NHS. Read it and remember that with them it's always profit before human life. Anything they are doing will be motivated by one thing: money and profit. Well, you might also add in privilege, okay? Now here's the man once again who's going to trash your human rights, and the Independent asks, are you paying attention? He's going to trash them. Yeah. The Americans say in their Declaration of Independence, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their power from the consent of the governed." And in that list of rights in the American Declaration of Independence, part of the Constitution, they list life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Basic human rights. You don't have to earn them. They're yours. Yeah? Doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter how much money you've got. Doesn't matter who you vote for. The right to life. The right not to be exploited, enslaved. And it says in the Independent, Boris Johnson has again stated that he wants the UK to quit the European Convention on Human Rights as part of post-Brexit talks with the EU. That's going on now. Quit the European Convention on Human Rights. Just let that sink in for a moment. Does he think you have rights? He knows he has privileges. He knows he has power. But does he actually think that you watching this here and now, your friends, your family, your children, your wife, your husband, your grandparents, your parents, your aunts, your uncles, does he actually think that they have basic human rights? It says again, quoting from the Independent, it's the only logical conclusion. Refusing to stay in the Human Rights Convention on Human Rights means Johnson wants to strip you of those rights. He probably thinks they're just guidelines. Yeah, I mean, mostly with the Tories, things are guidelines, aren't they? Yeah? Whether you travel or not, or we're locked down, whether you go up to Barnard Castle, it's a guideline. Motorways, for crying out loud. Speed limits. They're advisory, aren't they? Yeah. And if you're in a hurry and you've got a Jag that can do 130, 140, well, it's not. Speed limits aren't law. They're advisory. They're guidelines. So it continues. He might take away the prohibition of torture or inhuman and degrading treatment or punishment. This would make the Department of Work and Pensions treatment of the sick and disabled plus the unemployed much easier after all. Look how they are treating the sick and the unemployed now. Yeah? Look how they're treating people like me and millions of others like me now. Supposing we get rid of that human right. Yeah? Supposing it's not there anymore. Yeah? Open the workhouses. Let us starve. Let us freeze to death. I mean, after all, many of the Tories don't believe that animals are sentient, so they don't believe that they have any rights. They don't even think that animals are sentient beings. As far as they're concerned, you could beat a sheep to death with a mallet. It's not a sentient being. Yeah, absolutely not. No. So I definitely think he'll do away with your rights to privacy. That's perfectly true. I think that's going to come around, yeah. We'll be into a surveillance. He talks about the surveillance society, and it would be the dictator Johnson who will certainly want to keep tabs on any signs of rebellion against his rule. Freedom of religion is likely to go as well, it says, of course, yeah. One way or another, Johnson is a racist and an Islamophobe, as we know, so the prohibition against discrimination will be given the heave-ho. Does anybody really think he'll keep our freedom of expression and any dissenting voice, I suspect, will be put down very harshly? Yeah. You ever noticed also, very good point from the Independent here, has anybody noticed that he said nothing about restricting all his own rights, and I'll use the opposite word to rights now, privileges, yeah? Privileges, you are either given or you earn. Rights, you have. Privileges, they're either just yours because, you just happen to be that part of society when you grew up. It's just my wife's phone running. I'll talk through it because I'm getting very near the end anyway. Right, so think about that, COVIDians, and remember that this society is changing greatly. Your time is limited to act. Look after yourselves. Don't trust your government. Stay well. Stay informed. Stay safe. And stay together. Stay solid. And we will defeat this dictatorship. Bye.